Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're discussing the full supermoon in Aquarius happening on the 12th of August at 19 degrees of Aquarius and what it means for your zodiac sign. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for regular astrology updates from me. You can follow me below on all my socials for all things astrology listed below, and you can also book a reading with me at the email address listed below. So this is a very important full moon. The reason being is that it is one, a supermoon, but also because this is the last full moon conjunct Saturn in the sign of Aquarius that we're going to have for about 30 years. So it is a pretty significant one. It is very linked to the Saturn in Aquarius period, which began in the springtime of 2020. So the themes that have existed behind the scenes with Saturn there, or come to the surface with different lunations and different transits, the themes here that exist in the Aquarian part of your chart are coming to a head. It's likely because Saturn is in the mix that there's going to be an awareness of a key lesson, of a key experience, of a key emotion that has come up based on the Saturn in Aquarius cycle and where that falls for you in your chart. So I will get into that for the individual zodiac signs. If you go by your rising sign, you will know based on my horoscopes where Saturn has been for you, which house it has been transiting with Aquarius. There could be huge realizations with this supermoon. There could be letting go. There could be completion. Like something could finally come to fruition around this full moon, and there could be a greater understanding and a key lesson, because Saturn does rule our lessons, particularly karmic ones. So for a lot of people, this full moon could be one that is quite emotionally intense. Now, Saturn, when it's connected to the moon, it's one of the toughest transits in astrology. If you are an Aquarius moon, you will be experiencing this at the minute if your moon is in and around 19 to 25 degrees of Aquarius. Similarly, if your natal Saturn, if this is your Saturn return, and if your natal Saturn is in anywhere between 19 to 25 degrees of Aquarius, any placement you have of Aquarius in those degrees is being emphasized at this full moon, and it's very linked to Saturn. So there is something karmic, there is some kind of understanding, and it could come to a head around this time. Saturn transits are tough because they can be there can be a touch of melancholy with Saturn, there can be a touch of depression with Saturn, there can be heaviness, particularly rooted in responsibility, but also surrounding themes of maturity, growing up. And in Aquarius, it can be to do with our peers, it can be to do with society, social groups that we're a part of, social groups in general. Because the Saturn in Aquarius transit, we know that since Saturn went into Aquarius, social restrictions were a huge theme, and divisiveness between different social groups has also been quite a huge theme as well. So there could be something quite significant in and around this full moon, and it could be quite volatile and eruptive. Reason being is that there is a square to Uranus at this time, Uranus who has just been conjunct Mars and the true node. So the sun is in Leo, opposite the full moon, which is conjunct Saturn in Aquarius. We have a square to Uranus, Mars, and the North Node in Taurus. And the North Node and all those Taurus placements are opposite the South Node in Scorpio. Every single one of the fixed signs is in play here. So if you are a fixed sign, particularly if it's between 18 to 25 degrees of Aquarius, Leo, Scorpio, or Taurus, this full moon could be quite significant and a little bit challenging for you, in that it can really ruffle your feathers. You may feel more insecure around this full moon. We all may feel more insecure around this full moon, particularly when it comes to social issues with Aquarius, leadership with Leo, our natural resources with Taurus and Scorpio, our finances. All of these things are being shaken up with the current transits. And so this full moon is a peak experience of emotion. So it may be that you feel like things have been not getting to you so much in those particular areas, and then it all comes out. If you are attending a protest or a rally or something like that, just know to keep your wits about you, because there could be something quite volatile surrounding gatherings, group outings, that kind of thing. And it might be that people are just more reactive than usual, more triggered than usual, for want of a better word. So it's not to You know, astrology transits, when they're tough, it isn't actually to bring about a sense of fear, it's to bring about a sense of awareness. So if you can do your own work on yourself to stay cool, calm and collected, or just process at this time, it can be a good thing. It can be that you become objective with the Aquarius energy, a bit detached from everything that's going on, so that you can process it intellectually. But what I will say is that because of Saturn in Aquarius being so linked to social distancing, this can actually be a good full moon to just keep it low key and hang out by yourself, especially if you're a Pisces rising, because it's the 12th house. But this can be a nice full moon to just take a little step back socially and, you know, reflect on where you're at, what you want, how you're feeling, because you yourself may be quite triggered around this full moon. There is a lot of reactive energy happening around us. So it is a good time to keep a cool head and to understand that this is a peak of so much that is already happening, especially if you felt like nothing really happened around the Uranus-Mars North Node conjunction. This full moon is quite illuminating maybe of what your theme is in that particular area, because there is so much fixed energy. Now, if you've no idea what I'm talking about when I say look for 18 to 25 degrees of the fixed signs in your chart, if you pull up your birth chart, a free birth chart from any site that gives free astrological birth charts, and you put in your birth time and everything, you can see by looking at the planets, all the planets have a different number attached to them. That'll show you the degree of each point. So if you look at planets in Scorpio, Leo, Aquarius and Taurus, and if you have anything between 18 to 25 degrees, this is a sensitive point at this full moon. If you have an angle, so say it is your ascendant descendant at in and around 19 to 25 degrees of a fixed sign, particularly 19. 18 or 19 I think are the most significant for this, but if they're in and around 18, 19, this full moon is affecting you in some way and you may feel more triggered than others. So this full moon, it is a culmination of energies of how we're feeling socially. It might be a time as well where if you realize a friendship or a social group has really ran its course, this might be a time where you cut ties, you let it go. Themes surrounding friendship, social groups that you're part of, maybe even charities that you donate to. These can all be things that come up around this time and you think, I don't resonate with this person anymore, I don't resonate with this group anymore, I don't resonate with this long-term dream anymore. Or it could be that you get a significant completion of a long-term goal or project that you've really committed to. So I'm going to pull an oracle card for this full moon and get into each of the individual zodiac signs. Timestamps are listed below if you want to click ahead, but I'm going to get into the oracle card now. So the card that we have for this supermoon is Unfinished Symphony. This is an interesting card because it kind of gives this indication that something remains unfinished, something is not quite completed. I think with a lot of people, because the South Node, North Node axis is so activated at this time, and the South Node is in Scorpio, it could be that there is something comes up for us surrounding the past. The square to the South Node could show you, particularly because it's in Scorpio, and Scorpio is the psychological sign. It is our shadow self. It is our subconscious in some areas, not so much as the Pisces energy 12th house, but it is our psychological roots. It can be our experiences, our traumas, but it can also be what we hold in our bodies from past experiences or our connection to the past. I think for a lot of people, the past may make some kind of resurface around this time. Something that you thought was done may not actually be done. This could come in the form of a friend getting in contact that you've not spoken to for years, hearing from someone that there has been a lot of water under the bridge. Can happen for some people. It can also be a time where you realize with where Saturn is in your chart transiting, where Saturn in Aquarius falls in your chart, it can be that you realize that you've neglected completing something and you're realizing around this time, I want to complete this, I want to do this, I want to make this happen. There's something about this that suggests that a particular cycle experience, or whatever it is for most of us, is not actually completed, it's not actually done, and there's something comes up around this full moon that gives you the knowledge to commit to it with Saturn maybe, or let it go with the Scorpio South Node there. So that's actually a really interesting card. Do let me know how that plays out for you, if that resonates. It might have a completely different meaning for you. You can use your intuition. If there's something that's coming up that you forgot about around this time, do let me know. I'm going to get into the individual zodiac signs now. You can watch your sun, moon and rising, especially with me, because I am doing tarot cards for each of the signs. So there will be a particular message for your sun sign. Even if you only watch your rising sign for the astrology, you can watch sun, moon and rising to get more of a complete picture of themes. So I hope you have a beautiful full moon. If you are a moon in Aquarius, let me know in the comments. I am a moon in Aquarius. This full moon is conjunct my moon, which has that Saturn conjunction on it at the moment. It's also squaring my sun, Mars and my Pluto. So if anybody's going to be crying in a corner, it's going to be me. So let me know if you've a moon in Aquarius in the comment section below and how this full moon is playing out for you. I hope you have a beautiful full moon nonetheless, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye. Hi Aries, sun, moon and rising. Welcome to the full moon in Aquarius for your sign. So Aries, this full moon is happening in your 11th house. So the 11th house is to do with wishes, long-term objectives. It is to do with our friendships. So for you, with the conjunction to Saturn, this could be a time where something you have committed to in terms of a team, in terms of a team project, in terms of a friendship, there's some kind of culmination of energies. This might actually be a time where, because of the challenging energies in your second house, there could be a conflict with a friend. There could even be letting go of a friendship around this time, or letting go of a particular group of people, a team, maybe because your values aren't the same. Maybe because you don't align on the same principles, you don't align on the same morals or values, and there's some kind of disconnect going on here where the Saturn responsibility is coming in, and maybe in terms of a friendship, so you've been irresponsible or non-committal to someone who needed you, or maybe it has been the other way around. There could be a sorry Aries, I've got such a bad voice today. My throat feels so funny. There could be a severance or something with a friendship around this time, or there could actually be something that you've been working on as a team or as a friendship group that is coming to fruition around this time because of the responsibility of Saturn. Maybe you committed to something that is paying off. It could be a long-term goal or objective. And it could have cost you a lot of money or a lot of time or a lot of resources because of the square to Uranus. I do feel for you, Aries, that finances might be a little unpredictable at this time. You might be a little bit unclear. Also, if there was a time for you to maybe watch for being a bit impulsive or a little bit flippant with your money or something like that, now would be a good time to try and keep an eye on that. The North Node is focusing you with Uranus and Mars there on making money, on working with your resources. It can make you spend a little bit more. Sometimes with Mars there, it can actually drive your spending, but with the South Node in Scorpio as well, that you have to err on a sense of caution, because if you're financially linked to anybody else, your spending can affect for example, your taxes or something like this. So you have to be a little bit more mindful about your money around this time. There might be an unpredictability surrounding your finances around this time, Aries. So your oracle cards, your tarot cards, were the Seven of Pentacles, the Eight of Wands, and the Hanged Man. There's a real push and pull with your energy here. It's like you're trying to get something off the ground and then it's stalled, or you're trying to communicate something and then you're hesitant, or you've been working on something really hard and then you're really tired. There's a complete lack of consistency with your energy here. I do also feel like in terms of communication with others, especially, it could be in work matters, but it could be many things. You're maybe waiting for news, or you're waiting to hear something, and you would maybe be better just initiating whatever it is. Like if you're waiting to hear something, you might be better just initiating whatever it is so that you're not stuck in limbo. I do feel like you guys might be waiting for news or something at this time, or you've something that you're waiting to hear, or maybe there's something that you want to say but you're having trouble getting it off the ground. There seems to be a bit of push and pull with that energy, and it might actually be so that you're not impulsive and you see things from a different perspective. That's interesting. The Hanged Man is oftentimes about seeing things from a different perspective. So if there's something comes in at you, some news, something comes in very suddenly, take a pause before you proceed. Those are what I have for you, Aries. I hope you have a beautiful full moon. I'll talk to you soon. Hi Taurus, sun, moon and rising. Welcome to your forecast. So Taurus, This full moon in Aquarius for you is happening in your sector of career, your vocation, your public status, your public reputation, kind of how the world sees you basically. And it's squaring Uranus in your first house, and Uranus in your first house, it's been there since 2018. Saturn has been in your 10th house since 2020. So from 2020 until now, there has been this friction between the image that you present to the world, your status, and who you are and who you're becoming. Okay, so as you're revolutionizing the way that you see yourself, if it's not changing as well as the way that you do your work, as the way that you present yourself to the world, there can be a disconnect and there can be a clash. So for a lot of you, you might have been noticing how much you've been changing, and you're realizing that you need your status to change. You want your status to change. You want the work that you're doing to be a reflection of who you're becoming. You also want the world to see you as you truly are. And you also want some degree of success that you've been working very hard to achieve. So because you're a fixed sign, Taurus, you find change very hard. It's not your most natural energy to embrace. And that's one of the great things about you, in a sense. It can, of course, hinder you, but it can also make you very solid, very steady, very dependable. This full moon in your 10th house is maybe making you realize that the career you're doing, the job you're doing, the way that you're presenting to the world isn't working for you anymore. Some of you could be changing your status through marriage, through retirement, through a new job, your status, maybe even through citizenship. Something is changing for you, Taurus, in the way that the world sees you, that you've been working on since 2020. You could have some kind of payoff, but I feel a little bit like, even if you do, you're sort of like, is this me? Like, there is this push and pull between the way the world sees you, the way you are in your career, and the way you are personally. Now, you could be feeling quite agitated at this time, particularly with a boss or a father. Or there could be some peak energy surrounding a boss, an authority figure, or a father. Not a good time to break the law if you are inclined. In which case, I don't think I should be advising you. But this is a full moon where you could really find yourself clashing with someone who is a powerful figure, basically. Someone who's in power over you, maybe, or someone who has taught you or mentored you, or someone who is, like a boss or something like this. Someone who is just, it's almost like someone who can give you guidance, or someone who can instruct you, or someone that has been in a position of authority over you, basically, Taurus. You could be finding yourself clashing with them because they don't understand what you're trying to do, because you're kind of in this rebellious energy, this energy where you are revolutionizing who you are in whatever way you choose to do it. And it might not be meshing so well with the way the world sees you, or someone in a position of authority, or it might just be that your career it's maybe feeling a bit restrictive. But nevertheless, with this full moon, you are, I think, in some way, Taurus, willing to commit to something career-wise. So you might be realizing that you've completed something, you could be getting some recognition, you could have done something, and you're realizing, do you know what, I want to change something. Something does need to change, but it can feel very scary. And your cards kind of reflect this one. So we have the Judgment, the Wheel of Fortune, and the Tower. Wow. Whenever I saw your cards, I just thought, whoa, Taurus, this is so you, because you're, Uranus in your sign is the one it's really revolutionizing thing, making so much changes, giving so much unpredictability. And I feel like for you, you're just having all these moments of awareness, these events happening around you, or perspective shifts that are just changing your destiny. And I think you're ready to I actually do think you guys are ready to just rebuild something. I feel like you can't accept something the way it is anymore. Maybe it's the way that you do things, maybe it's the way that you style yourself, or the way you've been living. I just feel like you're having all these destined changes take place, Taurus, and they can seem kind of scary, but they can also be leading you to your destiny with the North Node there. The North Node going through your sign can be a time where you really change your image. I mean, I remember as a Scorpio sun, I remember back in 2014, when the North Node was in Scorpio. And my whole life changed, and I just embraced a whole new way of living, presenting myself, styling myself, all sorts of things. And it can be a wonderful thing. You can have wonderful experiences. You can have very destined experiences. And it can require you to let go of the way that you see certain things, particularly relationships and unions. I also feel like for a lot of you, Taurus risings in particular, you could be hearing from someone in your life that you don't speak to anymore that has a karmic twist, or you could be finally getting the lesson and how that has impacted the way that you see yourself or present yourself to the world. You can get the lesson behind a relationship that was karmic, that has changed you or changed your destiny in some way. And maybe that can finally set you free, Taurus. That's what I have for you. I hope you have a beautiful full moon, and I'll talk to you soon. Hi Gemini, Sun, Moon and Rising. Welcome to your full moon prediction. So Gemini, this is happening in your 9th house. And for you guys, it's not so scary. It is a time where you might be very aware of your belief system. For some of you with Saturn in the mix here, you could be graduating if you're studying, or you could be getting exam results around this time, or completing a course of study. You could also be becoming very aware of your belief systems and what you want to commit to in terms of your belief systems. Your perspectives of the world could actually have matured quite a bit, maybe through travel, or maybe through learning about different cultures or different belief systems, or something spiritual, something maybe religious, maybe something astrological, but you're kind of having this culmination of energies come up surrounding your belief systems, your faith. And maybe also travel. A lot of you could be deciding that you want to travel somewhere, and it could require commitment. It could be that you're having to travel further than you've ever traveled, or travel solo or something like this, and it's requiring a lot of responsibility for you. But it could also be the inspiration to take a course, to get a degree if you don't have one. Something like that with the 9th house can be very prominent, especially with Saturn here, because you have the grit and the commitment to something like this, that if you do study something or commit to studying, you can really make a lot of headway while Saturn's in your 9th house. Now, there is a square here with Uranus in Taurus. Taurus is your 12th house, meaning that you could be having all these fears, phobias, what ifs, nightmares even. Sometimes things can be just coming up from the surface in your subconscious that are saying, you couldn't get a degree, you're not smart enough, or you can't travel that far by yourself, something will happen. It's almost like there's just these fears that are popping up with Uranus. They can be quite sporadic. It can be a really intrusive thought whenever you realize you want to study something, or that you actually believe in something that makes you, that you feel like is part of your bigger plan, that you feel like you want to commit to. It can be these little phobias come up. It can also be that you maybe realize around this time that someone, if you're in university or you're studying at college, or you have a teacher, you could actually realize that somebody in your life is derailing you in some way. They're not helping you. They're actually kind of bad for you. So it could be that you realize around this time that this teacher is just not a good fit for me, or this mentor is not a good fit for me, or these people in my class are actually really distracting me from what I need to do, what I really need to commit to. It can actually be other people's opinions as well. Could be affecting your relationship with your faith, or your sense of self, or your higher perspectives, or your belief system. There can be a lot of clashing in terms of belief systems around this time for you, Gemini. So when you're engaging in your discussions and running rings around people, as you usually do, just bear in mind that people could be very triggered around this time. And with Uranus there, some discussions surrounding religion or politics or anything like this could actually really abruptly end a relationship. So just be careful of that. That's not saying that to silence you. It's just that people are very triggered around this point, and you don't know what you're going to get with others. You and Libra would be the two signs that are probably the least triggered around this time. So just bear that in mind. Other people, if you're dealing with fixed signs, just be careful. We have for you the Queen of Cups, the Empress, and the Five of Cups. So I feel like for you, Gemini, in a big way, with Uranus being in the 12th house, triggering you, especially because it's Taurus, I feel like so much of this is about believing in yourself, believing that you deserve things that you want to have, believing that good things can happen to you. With the Queen of Cups and the Empress and the Five of Cups. I feel like this can be feeling very sad, maybe surrounding a female relationship in your life, someone you were very close to, or missing somebody. For a lot of you, this can be grief. For a key select few of you, this can be with the 12th house, because the 12th house is grieving. This can be just if you lost someone, whether it was recently or long ago, and you're achieving something. It can be a sense of melancholy or sadness that they didn't see you do so well. They didn't see, you know, how beautiful you became or how successful you became, or something like this with Uranus. It can give you these surprise hits of 12th house activity, which can be grief, or it can be sadness, or any emotions stored in the subconscious. I think for a lot of you, it's funny because I've noticed a lot of Geminis always seem to be just the smartest people, but especially the ones that have Mercury in retrograde, they don't know how smart they are, or they don't know how talented they are, or things like that. It can sometimes just be a bit weird to see. You know, when you see someone absolutely running rings around people in conversations, and maybe they don't see that that's actually incredibly intelligent. They still don't view themselves as smart. So I sort of feel like for you, there's a bit of an onus here, Gemini, on seeing just how wonderful you are at something, how talented you are at something, and how much potential you have at something. Because with Saturn there, it can sometimes make you have less faith in yourself, but it makes you work that bit harder at learning or mastering something in terms of beliefs or religion or higher learning. It makes you that much better at mastering it, but it can still restrict your faith or belief in yourself. And I feel like with this full moon, it's telling you, with the Empress and the Queen of Cups, to see your skills, to value your contributions. I also feel like for those of you that are single, there's someone who really likes you, but you can't see it. It's like there's someone who really likes you if you're single, but you can't see it because just something's going on with you where you just don't notice. It's really interesting, actually. Yeah, you really don't see it. If you're in a relationship, I feel a little bit like there's the potential for misunderstandings in those type of conversations that are ninth house related, like religion or politics, that could, you know, sour the energy with this Aquarius full moon. So just be mindful of that. Political, religious, all those discussions could get very heated for you at this time, and they could definitely trigger people, and they could maybe trigger with that 12th house an ending if you don't, you know, if that's something you don't want, just be mindful of it. So that's what I have for you, Gemini. Talk to you soon. Hi Cancer, Sun, Moon and Rising. So Cancer, this full moon is happening for you in your 8th house. So the Aquarius Leo axis for you is your 8th house, 2nd house axis. Very financially oriented is this full moon. You could be around this time getting a tax bill or something to do with the joint finances between you and another person. Money could be coming up in conversation. There could be something significant surrounding your finances as linked to another person. This could also be to do with psychology. So you could be around this time having a psychological epiphany, I guess, but more so that you have a psychological awareness. For some of you, you could actually have been studying psychology. But with this link to Saturn, it's almost like you're getting something, like you're getting the higher lesson in a pattern of yours psychologically. So if you've been dealing with something mental health related, or a trigger or a pattern, it's almost like you're getting the knowledge of it with Saturn here, which can be really powerful. And with the square to Uranus in Taurus, which is your 11th house, it kind of seems, Cancer, that you're getting a bit agitated with, or maybe they're getting agitated with you, but with a friend, with a group of people, a team. You could be finding if you work with a team, they're a bit more volatile or unpredictable. And they could trigger something in you, or a friend could trigger something in you, and you're seeing the pattern, you're like seeing the lesson, you're like, whoa, my friendships all have this pattern. Or maybe it's not to do with this person, maybe this is to do with my relationship with XYZ. It's like you're kind of getting this higher lesson or knowledge surrounding your own psychology that could be triggered by a friend, or it could be triggered even by a long-term goal or objective for you, Cancer. So maybe it's with Uranus and Taurus there, and its connection with Mars, and you're maybe socializing with a whole new group of people, or you have a whole new goal, and this full moon is about addressing any, you know, something that you're inspired to do, something that you're inspired to try, something that you have a goal for yourself. If you have any insecurities or psychological pullbacks or drawbacks surrounding this full moon can give you the why, or it can give you the tools to work that out so that you can try this new thing that you really want to try with Uranus there. With the Four of Wands, Four of Swords, and the Five of Pentacles, I do feel like when it comes to a particular team or group, you could be feeling a little bit temporarily out in the cold with them, or maybe like you don't belong in a particular group or a particular team, or you could be feeling kind of left out by a group of friends at this time, and it could be teaching you something about yourself psychologically, or it could be you're noticing your own reactions to it, or it could be that you notice your reactions to other people being in a bad place around you, and you're seeing how that actually affects you, Cancer. You could also be seeing 444 a lot on the clock, but I feel like with the Four of Wands and the Four of Swords and the Five of Pentacles, it's not a bad time to rest up and stay at home and take some time to yourself, because it's asking you if you have a fear or phobia of being lonely, or if you're realizing you're in the wrong crowd because you feel alone in the crowd that you're running with, or the group that you're running with. Or maybe you're just having these odd feelings of like, do I fit in here? Am I good enough for these people? Do these people like me? Do they accept me? It's more important to focus on if you like you and what your goals are and what your objectives are. And this full moon is giving you a really interesting insight into yourself and the work you've been doing on yourself psychologically, Cancer, even if it's been inadvertent. Even if you've just been drawn to certain books or certain podcasts or learning certain things about psychology, as you may have done over the last couple of years, or your fears or something like that, addressing them and maybe committing to changing these patterns, because Saturn in the 8th house can be slow and steady change that you do over time, and not being afraid of the long game either. And with that Four of Wands, I feel like for a lot of you, you're playing the long game in building something solid for yourself, and that's very impressive, Cancer. That's what I have for you, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye. Hi Leo, Sun, Moon and Rising. Welcome to the full moon in Aquarius for your sign. So Leo, this is your opposite sign, meaning that it is your 7th house that this full moon is occurring in. So because this full moon is conjunct Saturn, it can be that you have some sort of realization or peak energy surrounding a partnership, a key relationship, maybe a business partnership, a romantic partnership, a spouse. For some of you, this can be that, obviously it can go one way. It could be that you could realize a relationship isn't working anymore, or it could be that you actually commit deeper to a relationship, or it could be that something comes up about this relationship that is in some way a lesson or a commitment, really, with Saturn in the mix here. It's interesting because this full moon occurring in your relationship sector and also your sector of contracts, there's a square with Uranus, which is doing the rounds in your 10th house, which is your career, your public image, the work that you do, your reputation. It can be your boss, it can be people in authority over you, or your relationship with your father, for example. These things can be coming in as a bit of a challenge at this time to your relationship or your partnership, or maybe some contracts that you have or someone that you're in business with. There can be a bit of friction coming in from your career. Maybe you're putting in so much work at something that your partnership is suffering as a result. Maybe there's disagreements between your spouse and your father, or maybe you're realizing that your relationship with a boss or your father or your work is affecting your relationship status, whether that be the person you're in a relationship with or whether it be your relationship status in general. So maybe you're realizing that you're actually a workaholic and thus you don't have space in your life for a partner, but you'd like one. Or you actually are realizing around this time, if you're single, I'm ready for a commitment. I'm ready to commit to somebody. For a lot of you, Leo, it can be with this in the mix that maybe there's some unfinished business with a key relationship in your life that needs to be looked at again or readdressed. Some of you can go back to someone from the past. Some of you can reconnect with somebody, maybe because you're in a more secure or solid place, or because you've learned something about yourself or the relationship. So it's an interesting time for you, especially if you're Leo rising, because it's your angles that are all being activated here. That can be your midheaven, your career, it can be your family, it can be your partnership, it can be your sense of self. They're all being activated. So for the fixed signs, there's so much change going on. And then obviously we have the sun in Leo, your first house, which is wanting you to shine, but it's being restricted a little bit by other people and your relationships and your commitments. It is being restricted in some way. Just you shining and being yourself, it's like, well, no, I have to think of my marriage, I have to think of my career, I have to think of my family. And it's kind of like, well, you know, how is this making you feel? How is this making you feel? Do you feel balanced in that new beginning with the new moon in your sign? Are you committed to something new for yourself at this time as well, as much as you've other things to take into account with others? But I do think a lot of you might realize around this time, based on the work that you've done on yourself, that you're ready to take a relationship to the next level, or you're ready to have a relationship, you're ready to engage with one. So your oracle cards, I keep calling them oracle because I'm so used to doing oracle cards. Your tarot cards are the World, the Knight of Swords, and the Sun. Very fitting for a full moon opposite the Sun in your sign. And the World is interesting because we have all 4 fixed signs in it. It's the card as well as the Wheel of Fortune that has all the fixed signs in it, and I believe the Wheel of Fortune came up for Taurus. But the World, the Knight of Swords, and the Sun, I feel like there is something very big or prominent coming into your life. A lot of you could be taking a trip or traveling that really changes your perspective, or it's sort of like shifts gears in your life. Maybe you're having a realization that comes from this trip about what it is that you would like to do next, or maybe it recharges you or rejuvenates you. It's sort of saying, Leo, to focus on something. Maybe it is travel, maybe it is taking a trip, to focus on something that really changes your perspective. I feel like with the World and the Sun, you're being encouraged to get some sunshine in your life. So if you can go somewhere sunny, or it is sunny where you are, you know, do take time to embrace the warmer weather if you can. And if it's not that, it's knowing that no matter what is going on around you, or no matter what other people need from you, you can still shine your light in the way that you want to, Leo. And you can do it very well, because both these cards have your energy in them. And both these images, which is interesting to me, both of these images are completely nude. I know there's a little rag around her, but like it doesn't really keep your dignity, if you know what I mean. And the Knight of Swords is fully armed. So where are you prepared to be vulnerable, and where are you going in with your armor? I kind of feel like you're maybe realizing that when you rush into something, you need armor. And if you go at a little bit of a slower pace, because Saturn likes to take things slow, if you're entering a relationship and you go slower, it'll help you be vulnerable. Whereas if you're rushing into things, you need to be protected. I think that's a bit of a message coming up for you in your relationships, Leo. So that's what I have for you. I hope you have a beautiful full moon. Talk to you soon. Hi Virgo, Sun, Moon and Rising. So Virgo, this Aquarius full moon conjunct Saturn is happening in your 6th house, which is to do with your work. It is to do with your colleagues. It is also to do with your health and fitness. So with Saturn there, I feel like a lot of you might be realizing that you want to commit to something healthier for yourself. You want to commit to something that is going to be good for your body, something that is going to be good for your well-being, something that is going to be good for your work as well. You might be taking on, sorry, I was just making sure my battery doesn't run out. You might be taking on more responsibility at work. You might be called to step in at work. It could be quite busy at work, I'm not gonna lie. You could have a lot of responsibilities and a lot of commitments coming up. And if you don't have any at the minute, it's very likely that you might have some going forward. There seems to be a lot of responsibility building up in your work, and you could actually be getting some kind of recognition for the work that you have been doing. And it can also be, I have to say, a realization that you're looking at the work that you do in your day and you're thinking, I can't be here for another 30 years. That's what this full moon is doing for a lot of people. It's making you realize, I can't do another 30 years of this. Or I could do another 30 years of this. It's making you realize where you're at in terms of your commitment to your Aquarius sector, and for you that is work. It is also to do with your health. So there could be some kind of news coming in surrounding your health, or if you've been having a health issue, there could be some sort of peak around this time where you're maybe more aware of what's going on, or what the prognosis is, or something like that with Saturn here. I think a lot of you are going to become very committed to your health. Now, you are a sign associated with health. You are the sign associated with the 6th house. So Virgos usually have a routine. They usually have commitment to their health. But for you, I feel like with Uranus squaring your 6th house, and Uranus being in a sign for you that is to do with your belief system, your higher perspective, your faith, your religion, and also your higher education. I sort of feel like for a lot of you, maybe if you're studying something you're realizing, I don't know if I want a job in this. Or it could be that you're doing a job and you're thinking, I need to study something else. I need a completely new degree, I need a completely new discipline. Or it could be that you're realizing that your faith or your belief system is negatively impacting your well-being, or you're no longer aligned with the colleagues that you work with or the company that you work with in terms of your higher values and perspectives. That is one way that this can manifest as a challenge to you, Virgo, is where these two areas are misaligned. So it's good to sort of take stock around this full moon and see what it is that you're feeling about your work, what you're feeling about your health, and what you're feeling about your well-being. I think a lot of you could be, based on your tarot cards, which are Ten of Swords, Knight of Pentacles, and the Four of Pentacles, I think a lot of you could actually be holding on to a job or something, maybe even a diet, like a particular diet, for the sake of it, for familiarity, because you fear the change, and it could really be hurting you. So I think there's a bit of stubbornness connected to this, where maybe you feel like, but I've committed for so long to this job or this company, or I've been this type of diet for so long. If I change it, am I going to lose, am I going to hate my life? There's sort of this like clinging on to it in a way that I don't think is the best for you. I think you're actually being called, Virgo, to think, what would make me happy in my day-to-day life? What activities, what would I be eating? What would I be doing? How would I be working? How would I be feeling about my work? How would I be feeling about my health? How would I be feeling mentally and emotionally in a well-being sense? And also, what do I believe in terms of work? Does this company align with my higher perspective? And do I need that even? You might realize that you do need that a little bit. You need to have faith in your company or your career, your business, your job, whatever it is that you're doing. And alternatively, you may also notice that maybe your belief systems is harming your health in some capacity. And that can just be because, say for example, you believe in something that's actually giving you a lot of anxiety. It is probably not the belief system for you. Do you know what I mean? Maybe you're getting too engrossed in something and it's making you anxious and you need to take a step back or to discover like a healthier way of working with that belief system, for example. But I do also think for a lot of you it could play out as deciding, I actually really want to do a different degree. I really want to study something new. I want to learn a new language or something that's going to enhance your work. Maybe enhance your work in a way that you could commit to it for the next 30 years. Do you know what I mean, Virgo? With Saturn here, there can be a bit of a time is of the essence pressure that doesn't actually exist. But with Uranus, it can make you very impulsive. So just watch for like quitting your job on the spot, because with Saturn there, it still wants you to be responsible and to take a slow approach, even if Uranus is kind of ramping things up. And do watch for disagreements with colleagues on topics of politics, religion, faith, belief systems, colleges. You could have arguments with colleagues over those kind of topics if you want to steer clear of that, because there could be a lot of drama with Uranus and Taurus. That's what I have for you, Virgo. Hope you have a beautiful full moon. Talk to you soon. Bye. Hi Libra, Sun, Moon and Rising Libra. This supermoon is happening in your 5th house. So there could be something coming up surrounding your children if you have any, the desire to have children if you want to have children, the conception of a child. There can be something to do with the children in your life. This woman can also be to do with your romantic life, your fun, your dating, your hobbies, and your passions. Now, because there is a conjunction to Saturn, it may be that there is a sense of melancholy surrounding this, or with the square to Uranus, maybe a sense of frustration surrounding this. With Uranus in the mix, because Uranus and that great conjunction happened in your 8th house, a lot of what's going on with you at the minute is very psychological. You're becoming very aware of your patterns. You're becoming very aware of your own triggers, your own motivations, and this is going to serve you very well around this full moon. You may realize that you are, as a parent, repeating something your parents did that you didn't like, in terms of maybe discipline or something like that. Or you might realize there is a pattern playing out with your children that you went through or something like this, and you're understanding the psychological implications of this, or you're understanding the psychology of your children more. It may also be that you're realizing around this time, or you can't ignore something psychological that influences your love life. So maybe You finally learn about your attachment style and you realize, I'm not staying in relationships because I'm actually avoidant. Or maybe you're realizing, I'm dating the same type of person because I'm actually looking for the validation that my father didn't give me, or something like that, like really abstract examples, but something that could really be very illuminating. And it's a key lesson you've been learning for the last 2 years. You've really been realizing the psychological implications within you that affect the way you date, that affect the way you raise your kids, that affect the way you feel about children, or maybe even the way that you create something, your creative talents, your creative hobbies, all of these things, Libra. And this full moon could show you where you want to end a particular cycle of romance. Maybe you're realizing you're dating someone that's really not going anywhere and you've grown and you've changed, or maybe with Saturn there, maybe you want to take it to the next level. Or maybe you're realizing with your children that this particular way of trying to parent isn't actually working here, and I need to try something else. Maybe with Saturn, then maybe you need to try something more disciplined with Saturn. It could be anything, but it's really the way that there's frustrations built up. And I think you're understanding the psychology behind it and how it affects your, as I say, children or your romantic life, Libra. Now, your tarot was actually really interesting. So, see if I can just, I have no table here, so I'm relying on my knees. Your tarot cards were really interesting. We have the Lovers, the Seven of Cups, and the King of Pentacles. I'm kind of feeling like for a lot of you, if you're single, there might be a work crush. Or someone who's a boss or in an authority position. I feel like a lot of you could have a crush on someone at work, or someone at work could have a crush on you. But there's a bit of confusion there. You're not quite sure, and you're leaning into your intuition, and it might become clear around the full moon. That's if you're single. It feels like there's a love interest if you're single, for sure. Someone work related, or someone who's in a very high status. It might also be for you. You're no longer sure if you love what you do. As a career or a profession, or you're just feeling a bit confused. You're like, do I love this? Like, maybe there's another option comes up, you're like, should I take this instead? For those of you in relationships, especially if you're in a relationship with an earth sign, I would suggest having a conversation about something important that you might not be on the same page about. Like, you might be kind of, I don't know if you guys are completely syncing, your expectations and something. I feel like there could be a little bit of confusion if you're dealing with an earth sign. In your relationships in general, it could be that in terms of something material like work or home or family or something like that, there could be a little bit of confusion between you and a romantic partner or a romantic interest, and you want to iron that out. I do think for a lot of you, this is actually awareness psychologically of the type of relationship patterns you have, or the type of people you're drawn to, Libra. So that's really interesting. Do let me know how this plays out for you. I hope you have a beautiful full moon, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye. Hi Scorpio, Sun, Moon and Rising. So Scorpio, you're one of the fixed signs. So this full moon is quite important for you. If you have Scorpio placements at around 17, 18, 19 degrees, you're being very affected by the South Node at this time. So bear in mind that if you feel a little bit tired or a little bit drained or a little bit triggered by something from the past or someone from the past, this can be linked to the South Node, and it's triggering you for you to learn something or understand or revisit something, okay? So I just want you to know that in the background of this full moon. This full moon is happening in your 4th house of home and family. Now, Saturn has been there for a while, and when Saturn goes through a sign, there can be tough lessons, there can be sometimes more responsibility or sometimes restriction in the area. So it could be that, for example, you've been trying to buy a home and it's continuously fallen through, or your feelings about family have been challenged in some way. Maybe you've had a child and there's more responsibility, or you're looking after a parent and there's more responsibility, or you are finding that there has been some kind of challenge in a family unit or surrounding the home in general. Or it could be that you've just been feeling very at odds maybe with your family. This full moon is exposing what the lesson is there surrounding home and family matters for you. Maybe there is something that is more rooted, for you, Scorpio. Maybe there is something going on continuously in your family that has been going on since 2020 that has proved really very challenging for you, and there could be some kind of peak moment here. Now there's a bit of reactiveness with it. It could be that there is challenging energies surrounding your family and your relationship, maybe your spouse, or maybe your long-term partner. There could be, it can be when you have an issue, say for example, you'll know what it is, but it could be that you're finding other people are a bit reactive to whatever it is that you want or are doing in terms of family. So you could find that it's causing friction with a partner, it's causing friction with a client, it's causing friction with the people that you're close to, and it just could be that there's some kind of, something comes to a head, and you may just find people a little bit more challenging around this time. You might just find them a little bit more reactive, but also you might be a little bit more reactive, and you're the one with a really serious stinger. And I say that as one of you. You don't realize until you're challenged by something, the stinger that you have, because not every Scorpio has control over it either. So just watch around this time that you might be yourself prone to delivering a bit of a lethal sting, particularly when it comes to family or relationships. But I do feel for you, Scorpio, that this culmination could actually be something like putting a deposit down in a house, buying a house, or it could be realizing that you've, through discipline, have actually really mended your relationships with a family member, or really mended your idea of family, or something like this. And you've really taken on an understanding of what you want in terms of family, but also what you want in terms of home, property, that kind of thing. I'm not gonna lie though, as a fixed sign, it's not the easiest full moon. So if you feel a bit more emotional around this time, that's why. The fourth house is also very linked to the past. And the south node is going over your Scorpio placements, meaning that there might be, especially with Uranus in the mix, there might be something unaddressed from the past, particularly linked to a previous relationship, that comes up around this time that needs to be addressed, Scorpio. That is something that could be coming up for you around this time. So I'm sorry that it doesn't sound so sweet and fluffy and all that sort of stuff, but you guys understand the depth of the astrology transits, and you understand the depth of your own sign, and the south node is in your sign. So just be aware of that. I do think though that if your issue is surrounding a female, like a mother or an important female in your life, I feel like there's actually clarity and maybe building something and moving forward from it. Because I'm saying with the Ace of Swords, the Empress, and the Six of Swords, there's clarity surrounding feminine energy and moving forward with the Six of Swords. So I actually feel like for a lot of Scorpios, because the fourth house is associated with the mother, it's associated with the feminine. If you've been dealing with something challenging surrounding a female, or your own feminine energy, maybe your view of how you are as a parent, or as a mother, or your relationship with your mother, or something like this, I feel like you're getting clarity and you're moving forward. I also feel like this is maybe to do with your feelings surrounding family in general with the Empress. There might be some truth comes to the fore and being able to move forward with it. I feel like you're getting clarity in the fourth house with this full moon, and it's actually going to help you move forward quite a bit, Scorpio. It's actually going to feel a lot calmer after this energy subsides in August, and that is something to look forward to, right? So that's what I have for you, Scorpio. I hope you have a beautiful full moon, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye. Hi Sagittarius, welcome to the full moon in Aquarius for your sign. So Sagittarius, I'm dealing with a sore throat today, so just bear with me. This full moon is happening in your third house. This is to do with a couple of things. This is to do with your siblings, your neighbors. It's to do with communication. It's also to do with the way that you think. Okay, so there is a conjunction to Saturn here. So I think for a lot of you with this full moon, in terms of your interactions, in terms of the people in your everyday life, Saturn going through this particular part of the sky for you could really have refined the people that you're in contact with on a daily basis, the people that you share information with, the people that you share your opinions or your thoughts or you have conversations with, the people you go for coffee with, for example. I feel like Saturn has really cut away a lot of that frivolous energy in your social interactions. I also feel like for this full moon for you, Sagittarius, there could be something comes up surrounding a sibling that might require a very mature approach with you, and this is something that could have been going on for the last couple of years. There's also the chance, Sagittarius, that you might need to commit to something where it comes to a vehicle, a car. This could be that you're having, maybe you could actually be buying a car, because there's a lot of responsibility coming in here with Saturn. So you could be purchasing a car or a boat or some kind of transport, maybe even a plane. I was literally just thinking earlier, I feel like Sagittarius would be such a good sign for an aircraft pilot. But with this being in your third house with Saturn, you could also be hearing some significant news around this time as well. Now, there's a square to Uranus in Taurus, and Uranus is in your 6th house of health, of well-being. So I kind of feel like with this full moon, what you're feeling is that when it comes to communicating with people you work with or people you communicate to on the daily, I think you're kind of figuring out where you want to cut away a bit of superficiality that's not productive to you anymore, particularly when it comes to work. It's sort of like you could be going through your social media and clearing out a bunch of your friends on Facebook, or you could be no longer going to something that you do regularly where you feel like the people are bringing you down, or something like that, like say you always go to a park run but you find the people that you're with very negative. I feel like Sagittarius, you're cutting away social interactions or daily habits that are not productive for you, and maybe even things that are starting to make you angry. So very good energy for decluttering, especially cleaning out your car around this time. If you clean out your car, you might notice a real shift in energy quite quickly, because if you've stuff building up in there, it's actually affecting your mood. Clutter could be affecting your mood more than you realize at this time, Sagittarius. But I do feel like there could be some significant news surrounding a neighbor or a sibling in particular. But I think you're also realizing, with Saturn going through your 3rd house, you're realizing where you deny your own voice, or where your thoughts are actually suppressing you or restricting you in some way. Maybe the way that you're thinking isn't helping you in the situation that you're in, and you're realizing around this full moon, I really need to change something. I really need to commit to something with the way that I'm thinking. And your cards kind of reflect this. I have to say, you got really interesting ones, Sagittarius, especially because you're not a fixed sign. But I feel like if you're watching this, you probably do have something significant based on your cards. We have Judgment, the Sun, and the 4 of Cups. The Sun is still in Leo, and for you, that is your 9th house of the higher perspectives, higher knowledge, higher education. It is the law. It is your belief systems. It's your house, Sagittarius. And with the Sun card here, I feel like you're kind of having a lot of awareness come to you, a lot of information coming to you. You might even be realizing you're called to study something new, or you've been studying something new, and you're kind of, with this 4 of Cups, you kind of have to be wary of the Saturn energy making you feel less than capable of attempting this, or finishing this, or trying this, or embracing this. I feel like there is a huge epiphany with Judgment and the Sun. I also do think for you, something may be kind of resurrected with Judgment here and the Sun card, and you might have been finding it so tough or so unavailable for so long that when it starts appearing to you, you're sort of like, do I want this? It's a funny way to look at things, Sagittarius, but I feel like there is something, Judgment and the Sun, I feel like this could be a revelation or something big with the Sun that could make you very happy. And that might just be the way that you think or what you believe in changing. But with the 4 of Cups, I feel like with Saturn, you might not notice for a couple of days that it would be very good for you. That's really interesting. You'll have to let me know what that is. So Sagittarius, that's what I have for you. Hope you have a beautiful full moon. Talk to you soon. Bye. Capricorn, Sun, Moon, and Rising Capricorn. This supermoon is happening in your 2nd house, which is to do with money, finances, your income, and it's also to do with gifts. Okay, so this full moon is conjunct Saturn, your ruler, in your 2nd house. And with Saturn going through your 2nd house since 2020, it has maybe in some cases restricted your flow of income. Maybe you've really had to save for something specific. You've had to tighten your purse strings. Maybe you've had to work very hard for your money. Maybe you found that in increasing your finances in some cases, maybe you've then had more things that you need to pay for, so you haven't felt the abundance maybe so much of money. And with this full moon, there is some kind of emotional awareness of your relationship to money and the responsibility of it. So this could actually be a payoff for you. This could be when you realize you've met a particular savings goal, or you have become more responsible with money, Or it could be that you're becoming aware that you need to be more responsible with money, Capricorn. It feels like a weird thing to say to you guys because you generally are. So I feel like with this full moon being in the second house, it can be a case with Saturn there that you're realizing that the responsibility is paying off and you maybe need to continue it. The thing about it is that with the squared Uranus, there's an instability with this. There could be unexpected bills come in, especially if you have kids. There could be something you need to pay for your children, or there could be something you need to pay for romantically. Maybe the unpredictability in your romantic life or to do with your children, or maybe a pregnancy, for example, an unexpected pregnancy is making you have to tighten your purse strings. Or this could be something you want to commit to or you're doing that is a passion project, something you're very passionate about, something you love to do, a creative hobby or a creative career, or whatever it is, the art that you're making, the career that anything that you're creating for yourself, Capricorn, is not meshing so well with your money. So you've got a lot of responsibility financially at the minute, and it's being triggered by romance, by joy, by fun. So maybe you're just feeling like this isn't fun, like saving all this money isn't fun, I want to spend some of this money. Be wary of doing something eruptive or impulsive at this time, Capricorn, basically. Your cards are interesting as well because we have the Seven of Swords, Four of Pentacles, and the Emperor. Yeah, this is like, watch your money, because with Uranus in the 5th house, it's really not a time to gamble. The 5th house can be associated with gambling. It's not the time to take a huge financial risk. It's not the time to just be careless with money. You have to watch your money quite a lot at this time, actually, Capricorn. The more responsible you are with it, the better. Because I do feel with the Emperor here, the Four of Pentacles and the Seven of Swords, watch out for... And this sounds very, it sounds very just common sense, but watch your items, make sure your locks are done, make sure you're not leaving your handbag where someone can grab it, make sure you're aware of what's coming in and out of your bank account. Just with the Seven of Swords there and the Four of Pentacles and the Emperor, other people could want what you have, or it could be that you're just feeling, you could actually be feeling a bit hard done by financially based on something that's happened or something that is happening, and it's making you have to take on a lot more responsibility with the Emperor here. So with the Seven of Swords and the Four of Pentacles, it is telling you to watch your money and to guard it like an emperor. And also to guard your self-worth and self-belief like an emperor. Remember who you are, especially if there's someone around you trying to chip away at it. Because people when they're insecure or unhappy can be very mean. And this is a very insecure full moon. So just watch yourself with other people's opinions, with other people's perspectives, because with the second house being about worth, it might be that you feel a little bit threatened by other people who are trying to chip away at you. It's like death by 1,000 paper cuts. You might notice around this time who's doing that to you. So that is what I have for you, Capricorn. I hope you have a beautiful full moon. I'll talk to you soon. Bye. Hi Aquarius, welcome to the full moon in your sign. You're the star of the show. This full moon is very significant for you, particularly if you have an Aquarius sun, moon, or rising between around, I want to say 18 to 25 degrees of Aquarius. Maybe even 15 to 25 degrees of Aquarius. If you have a Aquarius in your big three in and around those degrees, this is quite a significant full moon for you. It is very focused on your responsibilities, and it's requiring you to be quite mature. So if it's sitting on your sun, for example, this could be to do with responsibility or your relationship with the father. If it's in the moon, this could be to do with your relationship to your mother or your emotional life in general. The sun can be your career, the moon can be your emotional life. If it's to do with your ascendant, this is about you taking on responsibility. And this has been a huge chapter for any Aquarius placements. The Saturn and Aquarius transit, it's a huge new beginning, because conjunctions to your personal placements are new beginnings where you want to take on a new energy based on what you learn from Saturn. Now, Saturn can be very hard on you. Saturn is your traditional ruler though, Aquarius, so you're aware of the energies and you're aware that sometimes you have to be sensible and you have to be responsible. So for a lot of you, this full moon could be showing you, depending on where it's hitting, just how responsible you've been in a particular area. So it could be that you've been having to commit to something, you're having to commit to something a little bit more, and maybe your feelings surrounding these commitments are coming up, or maybe these feelings of having to go it alone in something or feeling lonely in some regard are coming to the fore around this time. So you might be more sensitive than usual. And you might also finally get a bit of clarity about what you want this next chapter, this next 30-year chapter to look like for you. Now, with Uranus squaring off here, there could be a bit of pushback, a bit of volatility, a bit of temperamentality with your family. So this could be that maybe, you know, if you're responsible for something, your family they say something that it's not fair, for example. It could just be that there's a bit of tension surrounding the home, tension surrounding family, maybe tension surrounding your living situation, Aquarius. Maybe it's not so much in alignment with what you want next, but it's giving you the clarity of what you want next in matters of home and family as well. The South Node is there in your 10th house. So for a lot of you, you could be realizing that you want to take a bit of a step back in your career, in work, or in responsibilities to something that you're doing professionally or to do with your public image. It might be that you want your public image to change in some regard. But I do think for a lot of you Aquarius, there's a bit of tension between who you're becoming, what it is that you want for yourself, what you're committed to, and maybe your family. Maybe they just don't understand where you're coming from. Maybe they just don't understand what the message is or the way that you want to live now based on your experience over the last 2 years. So there could be a little bit of tension coming from there, and I can see that in your cards as well, because we have the 5 of Swords, the Knight of Swords, and the 5 of Wands. You could be seeing 555 a lot. I do feel a little bit like people around you may seem more volatile or temperamental. It can be coming from within. It can be the lens that you're looking out at, because you could be feeling more sensitive, you could be feeling more triggered, you could be feeling just a little bit more on edge or anxious than usual. So you may be feeling more reactive. I suggest around this time, do take a bit of time to yourself with the full moon in your sign. You take time to focus on what it is you want. Feel it to heal it as well if you have any feelings coming up around this time, and just focus on self-care to the absolute maximum around this full moon, Aquarius, and focus on what it is that you want to commit to that would make you feel good. So that's what I have for you. I'll talk to you soon. Bye. Hi Pisces, Sun, Moon and Rising. So Pisces, this full moon, the supermoon, is happening in your 12th house. So you can expect premonitions, weird dreams, synchronicities, feeling like there is some sort of higher entity surrounding you, some maybe paranormal activity. You could feel like you're getting all these psychic messages. You could feel like there's all these synchronicities. And you can feel a little bit at times like, am I going mad or am I communicating with this bird? It can be very supernatural when you have a supermoon in the 12th house. This is conjunct Saturn. So what you've been working on behind the scenes, what you've been committed to behind the scenes, particularly in terms of healing, letting go, processing the unprocessed emotions over the last 2 years, feeling your way through it, is coming to a head. So it might be that you have a very clear lesson comes forward at this time, where you understand why something had to happen or why you had to go through something. It could be that if you're you're in a healing profession in some capacity, whether it is medical, whether it is holistic, it could be that with Saturn there, you're getting some kind of fruition or recognition or responsibility. You're taking on more responsibility in this area. So for some of you, that could be qualifying as a doctor, for example, or it could be qualifying as something in the healing arts. Or you could notice your hard work paying off. You could also feel, on the flip side, a bit lonely at this full moon. This could be a time where you really want to take a step back and sort of try and take care of yourself, because with Uranus in the 3rd squaring off with this full moon, your mind and your thoughts, especially with the South Node in Scorpio, your mind and your thoughts and your way of thinking, the way that you're thinking, you might not be the nicest to yourself in your own head at this time. You might not have the nicest narrative going on for yourself, and that can really show you where you need to do some healing. Where does that inner narrative come from? Where does the inner critic come from? Why is this voice saying these things to you? It could also be that you have some rather unusual news. You could have some news that triggers you in some capacity, that brings on some more healing, or it could be that there's an issue, for example, with your car or your transportation or a short trip, and maybe you have to stay in or something like that with this full moon. It feels very much like you're having to take a little bit of time to yourself and really reflect and focus. And the reason you have to do this, Pisces, is one, because it's helping you heal, but also two, because there's something very divine about this for you. Like there's messages, there's synchronicities, there's a higher understanding coming in, there's like divine communication, whimsical stuff coming in for you, which is your bread and butter. And there's sort of like a higher lesson, a higher theme, or an awareness that you can only come to if you're just taking that time to rest and sleep. You could have a lot of premonitions, you could have a lot of information comes into you through dreams. You could have dreams that are not even premonitions, they're fears, they're phobias, they're worst case scenario to sort of let you heal it. You know, if you have a dream about something bad happening, it doesn't mean it's a premonition. It can be your fears being processed, because full moons in the 12th house can do that. But because of the link to Saturn, it's helping you grow, it's helping you mature. And I do feel like this is a process for you where maybe you're actually ready to let something go with this full moon as well. Maybe you're ready to finally let something go, wrap out a cycle. And your cards are interesting because we have two court cards. We have the King of Cups and the Knight of Wands, but we also have the World. A lot of you could be, because the 12th house is actually long distance, it's foreign lands. A lot of you could be planning a trip or getting news around a trip, about a trip around this time. You could be planning a foreign trip. You could be planning a move as well. You could be planning a move. You could be planning to relocate. You could also be planning to go back to study something with the South Node being activated here in your 9th house and Uranus in your 3rd. You could be really called to study something new based on the healing you've done. Maybe you've done a lot of self-work and now you want to become a therapist or a counselor or something like this. I feel like a lot of you are maybe looking for some new energy. I also think you could be hearing from somebody who lives overseas or who lives at a distance to you. You could be visiting someone. A lot of you could be hearing from a fire sign, an Aries, Leo, Sagittarius, or a water sign, Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces. And it's really interesting, actually. I feel like there is a key person for a lot of you that is going to communicate with you around this time. So I feel like you're getting a message with Uranus, with Uranus. In the 3rd house here, I feel like you're getting a communication or a message, but I do think a lot of you could be taking a trip, planning a trip, planning a getaway, or you could be hearing from somebody who maybe lives at a distance, or somebody with the World that changes your perspective around this time. You could be having an epiphany or some kind of change in perspective, which really helps you heal, Pisces. That's really interesting. You'll have to let me know how that plays out. So I have for you. I'll talk to you soon.